Starting a business doesn't come without its difficulties. So imagine the added stress of trying to expand that business into a foreign country. Hello, my name is Tiffany, and today I am going to present you with some details that should make expanding a business into Colombia a little easier. I will begin with a few facts about the country itself before moving on to the business side of this discussion. So how many here knew that Colombia gained its independence in 1819? Did you also know that the United States did not recognize that independence until 1822, when they began diplomatic relations with Colombia? That relationship has been strong enough that to this day, the United States still offers political and economic aid when able. Now, culturally, the Colombians place a high value on their families and relationships, and this applies to the business world as well. Though the official language is Spanish, most top executives and political figures do speak English. Overall, they are a positive, open, and expressive kind of people. And when I say expressive, I mean they may touch your arm a lot when you're having general conversations. Being a relationship-oriented people, it will be important for you to build and maintain those relationships with your Colombian counterpart in any business ventures. Before any business discussions happen, however, be prepared for small talk that may possibly dominate the initial encounter, causing actual business discussions to not take place until the second encounter. When preparing for these meetings, you should be punctual. Even if your Colombian associate is a few minutes late, make sure that you are on time and properly prepared. Maintain eye contact to avoid being viewed as dishonest or deceitful. And don't be alarmed if the meeting doesn't quite flow according to plan. Discussion outlines or meeting guidelines are just that to Colombians. They're a guideline. They look at it as a way to get things started rather than actually following it verbatim. And so if any issues or questions are brought up, they will address those as they arise rather than waiting till the end of the meeting. Also, I'm sure you will want to present your Colombian partners with your business card. You should be sure to have it printed with English on one side and Spanish on the other. As I previously stated, Spanish is their official language, and even if your associate does speak English, it is seen as common courtesy to present them with your business card Spanish side up. You will want to ensure that you are dressed appropriately, and though the United States and Colombia have similar views on what is appropriate in the business dress, I would recommend staying away from anything brightly colored. Colombians tend to prefer more grays and neutrals for their business attire. Moving on to the actual discussion part of these business meetings, be prepared for your Colombian counterpart to use extreme caution when approaching any sensitive topics, such as price agreements. As I've stated, they are mostly a positive people, and because of that, they do have some indirect ways of speaking about anything negatively. For instance, if there's a disagreement on price, they may take a roundabout way to try and voice their disagreement. So pay close attention to the context of what is being said, not just the words. They are very indirect about how they say no as well, or refuse something. They don't like to say the no outright, So again, pay close attention to context, not just the words that are said. Now, much like how we do things in the United States, you may find yourself attending business meals with your Colombian associates. If they are the ones who invite you to dinner, it would be rude if you decline. Declining this meal could actually hurt the relationship that you have been working to build and maintain, which, like I said, Colombians put a very high value on those relationships. Another thing to remember is that Colombians view lunch as their most important meal of the day. So be prepared for these business meals to possibly take place closer to midday rather than around dinner time. Since you are a visitor in their country, your Colombian associates may try to go ahead and offer to pay for these meals. However, it is customary in Colombia for the person who extended the invitation to be the one to pay. So be prepared to grab that check if you invited them out. Speaking of payments, remember that you will have to convert some funds into the Colombian peso, as that is the currency of their country. Though your conversion will look like a lot as far as the number amount, remember one thing. According to Google Finance right now, the exchange rate is calculated at taking more than 3,800 pesos to make $1 US. Now, that being said, this also means that any business that does occur for payment in Colombia is not going to make quite the same amount as the same business for payment in the United States. Moving on to other risks of moving business into Colombia, there are some weaknesses to the country itself. There's a risk to security due to drug trafficking. They do have a twin deficit over the export-import sector. Poor roads and infrastructure due to very little investment and terrain difficulties. They have structured unemployment due to inequality and poverty, and less than sufficient healthcare and educational systems. However, you should not let these weaknesses alone deter you from expanding your business into Colombia, because the country has some great strengths as well. There are ports on not one, but 2 oceans. They have a population of nearly 50 million, an abundance of natural resources, including gold, coffee, coal, and oil and natural gas. The potential for an abundance of tourism and a large level of foreign direct investment, which means you could gain more investors from outside the country to help ensure the success of your expansion. So again, expanding your business into Colombia will have its difficulties, but with this information I have given you today, I hope you find yourself a little better prepared for that transition. Thank you.